So, good afternoon. If you can hear me, I would like to, if there's anybody on right now, we're actually a minute or two ahead of time. Um, if Okay, good afternoon. This is Lawrence, and I talked a little bit about a plan that we had to look forward to 2024. And I'd like to start with just mentioning what we talked about at the beginning of the year, which was a Happy New Year. And it was just to say that we asked about your why. Why would you do whatever you want to do for this coming year? What are your goals? Why do you have those goals? What are those goals? So if you have your why and you have you know what it is that you want, that's the main thing. Then the difference between a decision and an action. We talked about the little frogs on a lily pad. One decides to jump off, but doesn't do anything until he's actually done it or she's done it. The other thing was to have the two wolves, one positive, one negative. Which one is going to thrive? Positive wolf or negative wolf? Well, quite simply, the one you feed. If you feed the positive, it will grow. If you feed the negative, I understand I was muted myself for some reason. I don't know what you heard, but it's the first time I'm doing this live. So let's see how it goes. Let's just go briefly. We talked about your why. Why would you do whatever you want to do this coming year? Your goals. You must have a reason for it. And then we talked about taking action instead of just making a decision. We talked about a positive and negative wolf on your shoulders. Which one is going to thrive? Whichever one you feed. So if you feed the positive, it will grow and thrive. If you feed the negative one, that will thrive. So let's kill the negative wolf. Let's kill the negativity. Let's get rid of that. Doesn't exist. Get out of it. Take it out. Kill it. And let's look at the challenges we have with enthusiasm. And when we compare ourselves to other people, do we look enthusiastically at what they have or where they are doing, what they are doing? Or do we look at with envy and say, oh, I don't think I can do that. And it's because he's this or she's that or whatever it is. So let's look enthusiastically at whatever anybody else is doing if we choose to emulate those targets or those people or those spheres in which they operate. And then did you write your goals? Basically, those are a couple of fundamental things to consider just when we start. So, so I'd like to this series of talks that we want to do be a weekly series, and I'm going to touch on various subjects. Like, for example, we're going to talk about the mind, mindset, why we think, how we think. I'll talk about the body, that is the health. How healthy are you, as opposed to how fit are you? Big difference between health and fitness. So we're going to talk about both. We need to be fit and we need to be healthy. We need, therefore, to talk about nutrition as well as the gym. We're going to talk about um, community, our community relationships. We're going to talk about a lot of different things that encompass who we are. So the first thing I wanted to say is, first of all, every day, connect yourself with yourself. Sounds like a ridiculous thing, but no, you need to. You need to connect yourself and understand that every day is a present. We talk about that, they sort of the old cliches, today's a present. And You got to think about it as a present. Well, it is, because you never know when you're not going to be there. We could all not be here tomorrow or in 5 years' time or whatever. So every day we've got to live to the full, but we've got to get into the day. And we start by looking at it and saying, well, where am I? So I usually start off by saying that I'm absolutely grateful for where I am, the United States for a start, in my home for sure, who I am, who I am, and what I have, my health, my family, my home. All of these things are reflections that need to be done, need to be taken, need to be thought of every day, even if it's just for a couple of minutes, just to think about that. And then when we get into the shower and we get in and we automatically turn on the water and we get in the shower and we think, wow, okay. And we're thinking about, the appointments we've got at 2 o'clock this afternoon, or what we are supposed to do later on this evening. And we're not in the present. When you're in the shower, think about the fact that more than half of the world has no water. More than half the world has no water at all. And we've got water, and we've got cold water, we've got hot water. Most people don't even have water at all. Wow. Gratitude starts to creep in. Say, wow, actually, I should be really grateful for that. Our bodies are perfect. A little overweight, a little underweight, a little whatever, but we're perfect. And oh my gosh, the other people, a lot of people, some people have a lot of challenges. There was an old story about somebody taking their crosses to a meeting. All the crosses they got to bear, and they're taking their crosses to this meeting, and they say, I've got to change my cross because my burden is too big. And by the time they finished the meeting, everybody went back with their own cross because they realized that other people had bigger crosses. So we're perfect. The point I'm trying to make with this is that we've got to be really grateful. If we start off in the morning by being grateful for who we are, by what we have, start to breathe in, breathe deeply, start to feel invigorated, look in the mirror, feel good about yourself. That's the very first step in the morning to have energy, but to understand that we really have got fantastic possibilities and we've got really good energy. So start by inhaling through your nose. Visualize positive energy going into your body, down your windpipe, to your lungs, to your heart, to your arteries, to all the parts of your body. Positive energy going in. And when you exhale through your mouth, you're embracing the trees and the clouds and the wind, and your breathing is in complete harmony. So that when you breathe in, you're breathing positive energy, and when you're breathing out, you balance your breathing. So when we do that, we visualize this positive energy. It's called prana therapy. It's going into your body. Visualize it going to your feet, to your toes, each toe on your right, each toe on your left foot, on the right foot, each finger on a hand, left hand and right hand, and so on. And visualize that you're now integrating with the universe. You've got this gift of being able to breathe, that we're able to have to mute here. So we have this energy that's coming into our body. And on that sphere, then, if you think about it, when you've gotten to the point where you start to feel that, wow, the universe is there for you, and you sit down for breakfast, then you start to look and see what is on your plate. But before you've even done that, you brush your teeth. Think about that. we automatically just brush our teeth. Zig Ziglar said, brush only the teeth you want to keep. So we're brushing our teeth. The teeth are amazing. How many times do we chew food? How many times do we put stuff in our mouths to eat and so on? And we take it for granted. We don't even think about it, but we should. So when you brush your teeth, think about those little actions. So I'm trying to say that everything we do has a purpose, and it should contribute to how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about what we're doing, how to feel about what we're going to be doing and who we are. So then we decide we're going to have an apple for breakfast, just as an example. So instead of wolfing it down, think about where it came from. Maybe Pennsylvania. Think about the tree, the rain, the sun, the soil. Who picked it? Who packed it? Who shipped it? And it's on your plate. The whole universe is involved with your apple. So when you take a bite out of it, visualize the pectins that are in the apple. Visualize your salivary glands that are digesting the apple, how it's actually beneficial for your body. And you think about it and you think, wow, everybody's involved with my apple. And you start to you start to be grateful for that. Then think about this. I used to have classes about mind awareness. And I remember blindfolding, 100 people at a time. And I'd give them slice apple wedges, different apples, Fuji apple, crisp apples, whatever the apple varieties were. A little wedge, blindfolded. And I would say, okay, take a bite from the top part of the apple. They don't know which is the top. Take the apple and bite from one of the ends of the apple. And then turn it over and take a bite. Is there a difference in taste? Oh, there's a difference in taste between the top part of the apple and the bottom part of the apple. Who knew that? Only if you're aware and you start eating with conscious awareness, you'll realize that there is a difference in taste between the top part of the apple and the bottom part of the apple. And the difference in varieties and the texture of the apple. I'm just using an apple as an example. But I'm trying to say that everything we do should have a conscious purpose. Because wherever we are, we should be there. Because we're expanding the present. The more we expand the present, the more we'll see, the more we'll feel, the more we can understand. When we talk to people, when we listen to people, when we look at people, we'll be able to understand a lot more if we're there. Thich Nhat Hanh, he's a Vietnamese monk. He has a village called Plum Village in France, and I think in California also. He was talking about, a mother with the children. So she'll be there with the mother. The mother will be there with the children physically. But mentally, she's thinking about something else, and she's just there for the kids. But she's not really there. Her mind is somewhere else. So that's not being there. That's a physical presence, but it's not a real presence, an emotional presence. And that's where we should start to be. When we start to understand all these things, we'll begin to understand how to achieve our goals, what the goals are, what it is we want, and that sort of thing. So we've now gotten to have the apple. We're on the way to eating our apple, and we start to chew it. Think about, as I said, the peptins. Think about the salivary glands. It's already working for you. Your body's starting to work for you. That's why we should be careful what we put in our bodies. So we're digesting from the mouth already. starting to digest the apple. So we're now going towards work. If we're not working from home, we're going towards work. Before you do that, think about your family that's with you, whoever's with you, whoever's with you. Even if you live alone, think of your dog or your cat or your canary or whatever. Just give it some thought as to who are the members of your household, whether it's the dog or the cat, your kids, wife, husband, partner, whatever. And think about that. And also, wow, I'm actually lucky I've got somebody that's with me. There are a lot of people out there that don't have anybody to talk to. We're going into a period right now of depression. From the pandemic, from COVID pandemic since 2020, we've learned to have to detach ourselves physically from other people. And we've actually had to learn to live with computers. And that's as close to people as we get in many cases. The kids have even lost the way that the ability, not the ability, but the custom of being able to chat with each other as friends, or or even get upset with everybody that they didn't like, because we're detached. We've lost that emotional tie that we can have with people. And we take it again, we take things for granted. I'm an enemy of taking things for granted. I think we should always be in the present and really absorb and accept and be grateful for everything we have. So the privilege that we have is something that is the very first step, because it's how we feel. So you start looking in the mirror when we come out and you start feeling good. We get in the car and we're thinking about this afternoon or yesterday, I forgot to send the check to the vet, or I've got an appointment at 3:00. And you've detached from now. The now is when you walk towards your car. Take those few seconds, and I'm not talking about hours, I'm talking about a few minutes, a second, a couple of minutes. Look around. Look around. Listen to the birds. If you live in the city, not much I can say about that, because you've just got a lot of noise going on. But at least look around and see something positive. Find something positive, something nice, something to smile about. Do you realize that smiling is one of the abstract attractions that is contagious? If you smile, people will smile back. Just try it. So think about when you're on your way to your car and you see the hedge, the garden, the rose, not even the roses, whatever you've got, but acknowledge that. Listen to the birds. Whatever you're doing, have a positive approach, and one of great gratitude. Because if you have a feeling of positivity, of gratitude, of feeling good, that's how you will emanate your feelings. That's how the feelings will emanate from you, rather, and people will receive that. You can actually see, sometimes you go and talk to someone who's had a bad day, and the person is apparently doesn't even have to say anything. They just look grumpy, or they look upset. You can feel that. Well, in the same way, we can exude a feeling of positivity, a feeling of appreciation, of love, of gratitude, without going around saying I'm a tree hugger and, oh yeah, peace to the world and all this. Don't go to extremes, but feel it, be it. Be a person of compassion, a person of empathy. Be it. Live it. Be a person of caring. What goes round comes round. What goes round comes round. I learned that many, many, many years ago. Stay in the lane of positivity. Don't go into the lane of negativity. Plenty of that stuff around. Plenty, plenty, plenty of that stuff around. Don't even go there. That's the positive wolf and the negative wolf. Don't feed it. So you can look around and see. I've just got a couple of notes that I just made because I wanted to um, just have some basis to start this whole series with. The other thing is, it doesn't cost anything to be polite. You know, in my opinion, we, over the last few years, we've kind of had our values, principles, ethics, morals eroded. We tend to be impatient. We tend to be rude. We tend not to care. We tend to be impolite. I'm old school. So automatically, if I walk into a building, I'll open the door if I'm first, and I'll make sure that whoever's following me, I have the door open for them. And in some cases, I'll open the door. In any case, if it's a lady, on two occasions, I opened the door for a lady and ladies, and they insulted me. Who the hell do you think I am? You think I'm not capable of opening the door by myself? Who the hell do you think you are? Whoa. Okay, lady. Okay. Whatever you want to believe, that's fine. You live in your little world, and I respect wherever you are because I'm not going to change that. But it doesn't prohibit us. It doesn't inhibit us from being who we should be. Be polite. Be educated. Be nice. It doesn't cost anything. Smile. It really doesn't cost anything. So when you see somebody, like you're with somebody that you are working with or that you meet in the supermarket, say thank you. Always polite. The people we work with, it's great to say, how can I help you? But it's even better to say, as well as that, not better, as well as that, to say, I believe in you. If you believe in somebody, you're empowering that person to believe in themselves because you're validating what they should know about themselves. And sometimes they forget. People sometimes don't believe in themselves. They really don't. They get hammered by life. They get beaten up by situations in life. And they start not believing in themselves. And that's what this whole series is all about. Starting with who we are. And as I mentioned, one of the talks we did was ask yourself the first five questions. Define yourself in 5 words. Why do I say that? Because the first question is not 5 questions. The first question is, who are you in 5 words? Why do I say that? Because you will know in 5 words what a person thinks about him or herself. If you speak to a nurse, the first thing she'll say is caring, empathy, loving, because that's her vocation. If you speak to a sports instructor, he will say disciplined, driven, goal-oriented. All of these are characteristics of the individual. And if we understand what the person thinks about him or herself, we will understand how we can empower them to achieve their maximum level of proficiency and come out of the comfort zone of mediocrity where most of us live. And I'm talking about myself. I've always looked at myself and saying, I can do better. Even when I think I'm doing really well. Wow, I had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful month. My goodness, I've done so many great things. Could I do better? Hell yes. What's stopping me? The cobwebs in my mind. Get rid of the cobwebs. That's all it is. It's cobwebs. Doesn't mean anything. They're mental limitations which we put on ourselves. So when we look at who we're talking to, who are you in 5 words? That's the first thing I try and do with everybody that I speak to that has anything to do with our business, that has anything to do with who I surround myself with. There's no right and wrong answer. No right and wrong. But at least if I know where the person's orientation is in terms of the mind, I will know if that's how to deal with that person. If that person is goal-oriented and driven, that's great. Does that person have any compassion? Does that person have empathy? Got to find out. Does that person who has empathy and compassion, does that person have any drive? Does that person, what does that person want? That's the second question. Well, before that is, how well do you know yourself? Why? Because if you have a challenge, how do you handle it? Do you tackle the challenge, or do you just throw your arms up? When things go well, oh, we all love each other. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Life is great. Oh, yay. But when things don't go well, how do we handle that? How do we handle challenges? How do we control our emotions? Do we? I will be quite frank, I had a meltdown this week. Unusual, very, very, very unusual. But I confess, I had a real meltdown. I was with somebody and I was driving and I had the GPS on my car on and I had my own GPS on my cell phone and the other person had the GPS as well. And I had a very, very important appointment that I had to be there by 8:30 in the morning. Lots of traffic, raining. And the GPSs were telling a next turn right. And the other one said next turn left. And it was raining, couldn't see very well, couldn't go very fast, traffic like crazy. I had to be there. I personally had a meltdown. I never do that. I say, okay, so I'm going to be late. So what? My pen rye. We'll talk about that. Doesn't matter. How important is it? It was important. Is it life and death? No. Is anybody going to die? No. Well, then put it into context. But I didn't. In that instant, I had a meltdown. And I was screaming at the GPS in my hand. I was screaming at the GPS in the car. I was telling the person with me that his GPS was all verkachte as well, all screwed up. So that's what we've got to understand. How do we behave under duress, under stress? So there I learned something for myself, that even though I preach a lot about who are you and how well do you know yourself and so on, and I think I know myself pretty well, man, I cracked there. I'm human, I cracked. And I really had a meltdown. I was literally shouting at the phone, at the GPS on the phone in the car. Ridiculous. So how well do we know ourselves? It's important to know that. And then the third question, which is hugely important, and this is the whole crux of what we're doing now for the next few weeks, every week, one call a week, was or is, what do you want? What is it that you want? And it's got to be something very precise. What do you want? People say, oh, I want lots of money. And I say, okay, cool. How much? Oh, I want $1 million. Really? What are you going to do with it? Oh, well, I'm going to buy, really? Or $1 million. Oh, I'll live off that forever. Really? $1 million at 5% is $50,000 a year. $4,166 a month. Can you live on that? You can maybe survive. But in 10 years' time, with inflation and whatever, is that going to be anything? Can you really live on that? Is $1 million enough? Is it what you want? Or is it, or have you thought about it? Or have you not thought about it? So what is it that you want? It's no use saying I want a new car. What make? What color? What colors? What kind of seats? Leather, whatever. Specific. I want an apartment in Key West or in New York. What size? How big is it? What's it going to cost? Because if we know what it's going to cost, if we know what it is that we want, we can quantify how to get it. If you don't know exactly what something is going to cost, how are you going to get it? How are you going to get it? Save what? How much? For how long? What percentage of what? So these are questions that we have to start answering. And we have to really be careful about what it is we want. So we've got to know what we want. And it all starts with how we think. Do we live in the abundance or in the scarcity? What is the difference? The difference is, oh, I don't think I can afford that. The abundance is, hell, I'm going to do that. There's no question. I can. Nothing's going to stop me. Every person that I talk to that has any doubts about themselves, when you dig into it and when you ask people about the questions I've been talking about, and they come forward and tell you something about themselves, you'll be able to identify the personalities and who you can work with and how you can work with everybody, but each person is different. I've got 2 daughters. One is very focused, very disciplined. The other one, not so much. Neither is wrong, they're just personalities. But we've got to understand how we work first. How do we work? What makes us tick? That's the first thing. Because if we understand that, who I am, in 5 words. How well do I know myself? What do I want? Okay. Then we look and say, well, 2023, great. Let's look at that. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it something I could improve on? Were the results something I could improve on? Was it something I'm really happy about? Or, my gosh, it could have been a lot better. If we're honest with ourselves, we'll say, it could have been a lot better, even if we've done very well. Why? Because we can always improve. We can always do something more. We can always go the extra mile. Always. We have unlimited potential. We really have unlimited potential. But we don't use it because our mind gets in the way. Our thinking gets in the way. Events get in the way. And then we drop the ball. And then we have, oh, but I didn't because, oh, but I could have, oh, I should have, oh, I would have. Excuses. All are excuses. I could have, should have, would have, I would have liked to, but in Spanish is the word that I love, and they say es que. No, es que I couldn't do this because it's because. No, it's not. They're all just excuses. Excuse me. All just excuses. Get rid of the cobwebs. Get rid of the excuses. Don't have that. Don't hook into that. No more excuses. I have an armband here that I give everybody. No more excuses. No more excuses. Give that to everybody. Because we all have excuses. All of us. Put those aside. So anyway, this is about half an hour that we've been doing this first talk. It's my first one on live on LinkedIn. I hope it came out fine. I don't know. I have no idea. I hope I learned to use an app to do this call, and I hope it's recorded. And I would like to have feedback from anybody. If anybody has any feedback, I would like to have feedback. I've got this kind of set out on a weekly basis so that by June, we can all have achieved the goals which we proposed to ourselves, hopefully in December or January. Now, if we've written them down, what are the goals? Go through them and see what it is that we want and how we're going to achieve it. And I'll show you how we can achieve it. I've written several little articles on LinkedIn about events. And those were just to show that I have learned to be humble. I've learned fear, how to overcome fear. I've had lots of times when I've been really afraid. I've lost everything I own 3 times. Experiences of life. Each time when I was having them, I was thinking, oh my God, the end of the world's come. In retrospect, I'm so glad I had all these experiences, even the worst ones, because I learned something. And I'd like to impart whatever I can, which could be of any help to anybody. That's what it's about. So if anybody has any questions or any comments, I would absolutely love to have them. It will be next Saturday that we do another call. And on LinkedIn, please follow me if you think it might be useful. And I would love to have your comments. Hope everything is good for you for this coming week. Make plans. This was just the very first one, a little bit about mindset, but then we're going to actually put things into action, one at a time, how to actually achieve these things that we want. So have a good week, everybody. Blessings. Thank you for being on the call.